Chapter 3, Mishnah 8. The following Mishnah deals with several situations in which water was detached from a river. It teaches whether the water is considered to have been detached with one's satisfaction and thus has the capacity to affect hechsher. The Mishnah's first ruling applies in a case where extremely hot weather caused cracks to develop in wooden objects. In order to repair them, they are soaked in a river or other body of water. The objects absorb the water, which causes them to expand, thereby sealing the cracks. The Mishnah teaches the status of the water that remains on the objects after they are removed from the river. We now turn to the words of the Mishnah. If someone lowers a wooden wagon wheel and wooden cattle tools, such as a plow, during a heat wave, which had caused them to crack, into the water of a river in order that their cracks be closed, this, i.e. the water remaining on these objects after they are removed from the river, is included in the law of b'chiyutan. Since he soaked these things in the river so that the water would seal their cracks, the water gives him satisfaction. A similar ruling. If someone brings an animal down into the river to drink, and the outside of its mouth became wet with water, the water that comes up from the river on its mouth is included in the law b'chiyutan. It is impossible for water to enter an animal's mouth without coming into contact with and wetting the outside of its mouth. The wetting of the mouth is thus regarded as part of its act of drinking, an act which the owner obviously wants. Therefore, although the person had a need only for the water that the animal drank, he is considered to be pleased even with the water that remains on its mouth. However, the water that came up from the river on the animal's feet is not included in the law b'chiyutan. Unlike the animal's mouth, its feet do not have to become wet when it drinks. Hence, the owner does not get satisfaction from the water found on the animal's feet. The previous ruling applies where the owner led the animal into the river only so that it would drink. But if he also wanted the dirt on its feet to be washed off, the law is different. However, if he intended also that the animal's feet be rinsed in the river, then even the water that comes up from the river on its feet is included in the law b'chiyutan, because in this case, he is pleased with the water on its feet. The Mishnah adds that sometimes the water on the animal's feet can cause hechsher, even if the owner did not have intent to wash off the animal's feet. When an animal is footsore from traveling or footsore from threshing, i.e. treading on grain to remove the kernels from the stalks, and it was taken down onto a river, the water that remains on its feet afterward is always tameh. That is, it can cause hechsher in all circumstances, even if one did not specifically intend for its feet to get wet. When one takes a footsore animal into a river, it is usually for the purpose of cooling off its feet in the water. Therefore, one need not have mindful intent for this, because such intent is automatically implied by his act alone, namely, bringing the animal into the river. It was taught above that when one brings an animal down into a river to drink, the water that stays on its feet cannot cause hechsher unless it was footsore. However, if he also intended that its feet be washed, the water on its feet can cause hechsher. The Mishnah teaches that the last law does not apply where the person leading the animal is legally considered to be mentally incompetent. If a deaf, mute, a deranged person, or a minor brought an animal down to a river to drink, even though he intended also that its feet be rinsed off, the water that remains on its feet is not included in the law of b'chiyutan, i.e. it cannot cause hechsher. Since these individuals are mentally incompetent, their intentions do not have halachic significance. It is true that they have legal actions, thus, had they expressed their intent to wash the animal's feet by performing an action, their intent would be effective, but they do not have legal intent, i.e. their intent on its own without an action is not effective.